We welcome you into another episode of the Maryland Lacrosse Coaches Show presented by the Green Turtle. I'm Brendan Hartlove, delighted to be back with you as we enter the postseason for both Maryland men's lacrosse and women's lacrosse. It's one of the best times of the year, a lot going on and a lot to talk about today. But before we do, introducing the Turtle Triple Play at the Green Turtle, an extraordinary and unbeatable offer that is guaranteed to make your taste buds cheer with unparalleled excitement. For just $25, indulge in an appetizer and two delectable entrees that will tantalize your senses with every delicious bite, all while enjoying the exhilarating atmosphere of a sports fan's paradise. And here's the grand slam. For a mere additional $5, you can elevate your experience to legendary status by adding your choice dessert or two refreshing alcoholic beverages, making this offer an absolute steal. So don't miss out to score big with the Turtle Triple Play at the Green Turtle today. Check your local Turtle for details. We're going to start off with Maryland men's lacrosse, and we're going to welcome in head coach John Tillman and a graduate student from Westchester, Pennsylvania, Luke Weirman, to the show. Gentlemen, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
So we got a lot to talk about today, and Coach, just kind of looking back, finishing the regular season 8-4, 3-2 in the Big Ten, 3 straight conference wins before that very narrow loss to a very difficult Hopkins team. How do you kind of sum up the regular season now that we've kind of put a pin in that?
Yeah, kind of looking at some of the metrics, obviously, having a bye this week, I actually think is good for us. Our kids, I think looking at the metrics, I think we played the second hardest schedule ranked right now in the country. And, I give our guys a lot of credit. They've had to answer the bell every week. We do that for a number of reasons. Obviously, I think it's something that the guys get excited about. I think something that, Maryland's always pride themselves on is playing a tough schedule. I think it helps you get ready for league play. I think it helps you get ready and maybe potentially put yourself in a position for the NCAA tournament. So if you don't win the conference tournament and get that AQ, there's another path. So I think the guys, we certainly have had moments where we played incredibly well. I think there are some moments where, we might like to have those back. And I think the guys would say the same. But I think we've stuck together. We've shown that we can compete against anybody. And I think at this point, we've tried to balance the last 4 days with giving the kids a mental and physical break. And we have some guys that have really been busting their butt. Luke's one of them. He's took a ton of face-offs. And just kind of letting them kind of step away, kind of mentally regroup and also physically get a little bit of a break. And now, we'll practice today and tomorrow, start getting back into the flow of some things. Obviously not sure who will play yet, but certainly a lot we can focus on with ourselves to continue and improve and just do some different things to continue to get more connected as a team.
And it has been a very difficult schedule, as you say, Coach. And Luke, for you, amongst the guys, how do you kind of feel about how that regular season went? Because Coach talked about there's some ups and downs, but there was a lot of strong play and a lot of tough teams that you guys came up against.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Coach said it well. Like, we really found ourselves, stuck together, which was really important. I mean, you want to win every game, but realistically, like, that doesn't happen every year. So, we knew there was going to be some ups and downs. And every year we're a new team. So just it was really exciting. Just, as the season went on, just kind of, learning about each other, finding ourselves a little bit and just really sticking together. And that's why, guys like to come here is to play in those hard schedules and play those tough games. Like we don't want to have easy games every week. Like we want to have the preparation every week and we want to have that focus every week of going in and, having teams give us their best shot and their best opportunity to win. That's kind of why that's how we want to compete and everything. So, because we know that will help us down the run and, down the stretch. So, there were ups and downs, but, that's kind of why we play that schedule is to, carry those scars with us when they do happen.
It's all building towards that kind of end goal. And Luke, sticking with you real quick, Coach kind of mentioned that you have a couple days. You can kind of take a breather for what might be kind of the first time in a very busy schedule. How have you been kind of taking that maybe mental break? What have you been up to?
It's a good time to focus on some schoolwork. I'll say that, the end of the year coming up, especially with, helps. I know it helps the young guys, but especially myself, just being in grad school, there's a little bit of work overload at times. So just doing that. I mean, being around the guys, just hanging outside with them, even like just because we have off, most of the guys are all still at the facility and stuff, so we all get out there together and kind of just do do drills and do things like that, but just kind of at our own pace and with certain guys and guys build chemistry that way, and it's kind of just nice just being around guys in a kind of less intense atmosphere at the moment. Kind of reset our brains right now, so that's kind of what a lot of guys have been doing, I'd say.
Yeah, there is the student part of being a student athlete, and then comes the athlete part after that. Coach, Luke talks about kind of that chemistry and the team building things like that. When you look at a guy like Luke, who's been around the block now, how does he help kind of establish that culture that is so important in your program?
Yeah, I think, the younger guys are always watching the older guys. And so we put a lot on the older guys, not to be perfect, because they're never going to be perfect. But to have the right mentality, and we're all going to fall short of that sometimes. We're all going to make mistakes. I make mistakes. But when you do, you just got to be accountable and own it, and just kind of mention, hey, like whether you respond maybe emotionally to something, which we're all humans and that happens, or maybe, we make a mistake, or, we just make a mental error. If you can just own it and remind the younger guys, hey, I fell short. This is what I should have done. This is the right thing to do. Then it's kind of done and over, and then we just keep moving forward. But what's nice is that you're sending the younger guys the right messages of, okay, so that's what I'm supposed to do. And sometimes that's done by just, it's like, okay, modeling your behavior and saying, hey, I lead by example. But again, no one plays a perfect game. Sometimes, you miss a ball, you take a bad shot, you miss a grounder, you forget a defensive assignment, whatever happens. But just taking that ownership and then showing you can move forward, I think is really important, because you're going to fail. And like failure normally during the regular season is not fatal, but it's showing everybody that they should still have confidence in you, because like that failure, it didn't cripple you. You're not stuck in the mud, like you're moving forward and you can let it go. And that sometimes is hard for highly successful, highly competitive people. A lot of times there are perfectionist qualities that people have, right? So like they want to do it to a really like high level. And so you're hard on yourself. And so when you're hard on yourself, sometimes it's hard to forgive yourself. So that is something that, sometimes guys have to learn, because if they weren't hard on themselves, they would just, they kind of pass the buck. It wouldn't really matter if their performance wasn't up to snuff. So that there's a kind of a balance you need to have with that perfectionist quality and having high standards to, hey, you got to let it go. And that's not as easy as just saying it. Sometimes you just have to learn to do it, and you got to fail at it a few times. You need to talk to them about it. Like you need to work on it. You need to talk about it. And then if they do a really good job, remind them, hey, you did a great job with that.
Yeah, sometimes failure can be the best teacher in a way. And Luke, when Coach talks about kind of the balance between being a perfectionist and kind of working through some of those, you're one of the leaders of this team. And when you have new guys coming in, a lot of times when they're coming out of, a high school or whatever it might be, they're used to winning a lot. That's why they're ending up at Maryland. And so what's kind of your approach when some of the younger guys are maybe facing some of that adversity at a high level for the first time in a young career?
Yeah, I mean, what would I specifically say to them? And kind of, I'd say just, I think just from being here and, kind of the players that are at a place like Maryland, the young guys, at least I did, and I know a lot of guys I know did, kind of get the picture pretty quick that it's a very competitive place. And it takes a lot. It takes a lot to play here, to go to school here, and be a student athlete here. So I think that image is kind of set in stone, just kind of like the first couple of weeks you're on campus, demand and everything like that. And then I think just, keeping your head down. You hear from a lot of guys, it's big to just get freshman year under your belt and not just get through it, so to say, but just try to get in that, try to understand what it's like to be here and just learning from failing, really. Like if it's understanding a schedule you need to put together or anything like that, really just making sure you're doing extra work for a class that might not have been hard for you, but now is hard for you. And I think, it just takes repetition, just like it would in lacrosse. I think just getting used to things like that goes a really long way, and it takes some time it takes, shorter for some people and longer for others. And I think just knowing yourself and just kind of putting in that work usually ends up pretty well for those guys.
And Coach, we're talking about Luke as one of the leaders of the team right now, and it kind of feels like his college career has sped by in a lot of ways. How do you kind of view his path to Maryland, and then how he's progressed since he's been a part of the program?
Yeah, I think Luke is a great example for not only the guys in our team, but for any young guy who's going through the process. The line to success is never straight. Luke, good athlete, great family. I think he played lacrosse because he loved to play lacrosse for all the right reasons. Was a guy that didn't come from a powerhouse in terms of his high school, but was, proudly playing for his hometown school. His club team was not necessarily a powerhouse team. But when you think about it, he played because he loved to play. Like, he wasn't jockeying for rankings, so he jumped from one school to another or one club team to another. It was very authentic and real. His parents are tremendous people that are very grounded and have great values. Luke was kind of talking about his family, with the team. He talked about how his parents are at everything, and but they're all about the right things. I'm sure they're extremely proud of his lacrosse success, but I'm going to bank on the fact they're more proud of the person that he is, and that will always be the priority. Luckily, Luke's been able to do both. He originally was headed to Fairfield, and that's where he was going to go. And the former coach, Andy Copeland, was a guy that coached here. I'm so old, I actually coached or recruited Andy to try to come to the Naval Academy way back in the day. So I've had a long relationship with him, and he was stepping down. And I think a big reason, and I don't want to speak for Luke, but I think a big reason why he was looking to go to Fairfield was his relationship with Andy and Andy's family relationship, with Luke's family. So when that changed, it opened up an opportunity, and we're grateful for that. And I think, like any young guy, Luke said it, like, we never hold guys back as freshmen. If they can play, they will play. It's just, haven't done this for a long time. I just think it's really hard as a freshman with all of the change to play lacrosse at a consistently high level, especially when you have guys that have a 1, 2, 3, and sometimes now 4 and 5 year advantage. It's not really a fair fight. The other guys they understand the routine, they understand the campus, they understand the academic workload, time management, study habits. They understand what the coaches are saying. So that first year, it is a blender that you're in, and your head is spinning. It's really hard, and it messes with your confidence. And you're going from being the top guy on your team, or maybe in your league or your hometown, to, God, I used to be so good. And you have to kind of remind the young guys, like, you're going to be just fine. It's just hard right now. And what I love about that is a cycle of life that they're going to see at their first job, and maybe anytime they go from one job to another. So I think it's a very healthy environment to go through maybe some failure or adversity, because you have 49 guys that will have your back. You have a coaching staff and a support staff that will help you get through it, but you've got to be the one doing it. And you got to just keep grinding, and you're not going to get, like, one day come and it's going to be perfect. Like, you're going to have your ups and downs, and you've got to stay the course. And I think Luke mentioned it. And I think Luke's done just a phenomenal job. His first year, I think it was happening fast for him. COVID hit, so he doesn't even get a full year. Then he comes back and, he starts getting more time. He's really evolving. I think he learns a lot from Justin Shockey. And that was just a great year for him. He was a huge part of our success in 21. If Justin was a good matchup, Luke evolves into this great option for us and helps us be really successful. And then the next year he takes on an even bigger load, right? And we have so much success that year, and he's been arguably, like, I wouldn't trade him for anybody. I just wouldn't. I know there's other guys out there, but for the Maryland program, like, there's not a better face-off guy out there for us, for the human being that he is, for the student athlete that he is, how he represents our program. If there's one face-off in overtime and we could pick anybody, he's our guy. And we just have so much faith in him on the field and off the field. And he'll represent our program incredibly well for years to come because of the human being he is. And it's credit to him and his family.
And Coach, you touched on it, like that adjustment from, a high school to college is the biggest life change that these guys have faced thus far, but it's not going to be the biggest one they ever face. And so for Luke, when you're kind of coming into this environment, and Coach talked about it a little bit, you have guys like Justin that are around. How was that I guess adjustment period for you to maybe now, you're breaking all kinds of records and you're looking back on, well, maybe that was the smoothest kind of insert into the program?
I thought it was huge for me. I thought Justin, like Coach said, he helped me in so many different ways. I also feel like I kind of took it upon myself to say I should just kind of be a sponge from these guys and the coaches, because, like Coach said, freshman year is a little bit of a blender. So you're doing your best, but when, you kind of get settled in a little bit, when I thought I did, coming back for sophomore year, I just was like, I'm just going to listen. I'm just going to be a sponge. I'm just going to listen to what anybody's saying to me and try to, do that in that exact way. And I think Justin was just, just a super much of a helping hand to me. I thought we competed well with each other. I was, a little less afraid of him as a sophomore than I was as a freshman, just from him being an upperclassman. So thought that helped my confidence. But yeah, he was just awesome. And I think other guys like Matt Rahill, even just like guys like that on the defensive end, just how to be a Terp really, and just kind of follow in their footsteps that way, and how to go about every day, as a Terp. And I think that was a big part of it as well, just, academically, socially, and everything along those lines.
Look, I want to stick with you real quick because I want to talk about the face-off. And I was doing the women's game with Taylor Cummings, I guess 2 weeks ago now, and I asked her kind of the same thing from the draw perspective, in that sometimes the casual viewer doesn't really understand what's going on, or in that there are so many intricacies and that it's a game within a game. How do you kind of assess it's not the same as like a kickoff in soccer or, tipping off in basketball. It is very much a complex thing. How do you begin to break down that, I guess, approach to something you've become so successful at?
Yeah, I know this is a question I actually get a lot. And I always like to say that it's a 3+ man kind of battle in there. Really, like, there's 3 of you that started off, and then it can come if that ball goes in the box, like, it's a, every man's going after it. But I'd say, you're just trying to dominate the clamp off the whistle is really, the main goal of it all. And then you can control the ball as you want to exit, kind of where you put your wings and things like that. But it really is, it's a 3-on-3 ground ball when it comes down to it. And, it's physical, but it's all about just getting the ball to your offense. And try to just keep stacking those, goals on top of face-off wins, really, and just keep gaining possession.
And it has worked out very well for you, breaking all the records for Maryland faceoffs and things like that. And Coach, when you look at a guy like Luke, and we talk about kind of the intricacies of the faceoff, how important is the faceoff to controlling games, the game plan, and just maintaining and managing momentum, I guess?
It's huge. Coach Obransky, who's been with us, this is year 2 for us, has done a great job with our face-off guys. And there's, like Luke said, there's so much more to it. We put a lot of time into not only just the face-off guys, but, just how those guys play with each other, balancing the field, reading, reacting, scouting the opponents, kind of getting a sense of what they like to do, and then what happens after. And, I think even, we're obviously preparing for the winner of Penn State and Rutgers. And one of the things that happened in that Penn State game is, we were kind of struggling and we did get some goals off the face-off, and it does give you momentum. There's a certain level of comfortability and rhythm you get knowing that, you've touched the ball in the last 5 minutes 3-4 times. And it just, as an offensive player, it's pretty comforting. That the odds are that at some point, like, it's not going to happen that way. So then you have to kind of react the other way, where maybe some guy is guessing the whistle incredibly well. Maybe there's a lot of tie-ups, whatever it may be. So you have to kind of go, all right, we're not going to get as many. Obviously, since Luke's been here, we've kind of been in a situation where that hasn't happened a whole lot, which we're grateful for. But sometimes even in a period, like, there are guys that get hot, and some guys guess the whistle and they're doing a really good job with it. So you have to kind of be able to play. I think what's been great about Luke is more times than not, as the game goes on, like, he gets better and he makes adjustments and he's willing to make adjustments. And sometimes, part of that is the officials are letting a lot go. And you just have to realize, like, it's one of those games where, all right, you're going to have to kind of find another way. You're going to have to adjust. You're going to have to counter. You're going to have to, like, muck it up and win a ground ball. Like, it's just not going to be easy. And that's, I think, a lot of times separates the great from the good is, hey, the game's going to be played the way they allow it to be played. And some officials are not going to allow a lot and they're going to call a lot. Other times they're going to be a little bit more liberal. That happens in any sport, in any aspect of it. So you got to play the game the way it's played that day. And some guys can't mentally do that, and some guys can. And I think that's one of Luke's great strengths is he's able to adjust with, hey, they're not calling a whole lot, so here's what we're going to do. Or, hey, this guy calls a little tighter, so I've got to adjust. And, to me, that mental aspect can really, again, make guys go from good to elite. And certainly I think that's why we get a lot of calls with Luke with the PLL right now, is I think guys see that.
And I mean, you talk about the nuances game to game and everything's different, and that's going to be, magnified, amplified, however you want to look at it now that we're entering the postseason. And Luke, for you, just to kind of start to wrap things up here a little bit, when we're looking at this postseason now, do you kind of view that as like a new season, a fresh start, or do you kind of see that as a continuation of the journey you guys have been on so far?
I'd say a little bit of both. As I said earlier, you kind of have that regular season, and those you kind of carry your scars with you, right? And you learn from them. So I think definitely learning from the past. We did say we do play Penn State or Rutgers. We did play them in the last month or so. So we can't completely put that in the back of our mind and throw it away. But it is a new start. I'd say it is a fresh start. It is a new season, if you want to look at it like that. We're just playing to win. It's the postseason, kind of just like how it is for every sport now, right? So the game's meaning a little bit more, and, that's kind of just how it is.
And so, Coach, to kind of close this out here, again, we've said a couple times, we don't know who you'll be playing next Thursday, but just kind of what are you guys going to focus on heading into that game and the postseason overall?
Yeah, I think, you mentioned, I thought Luke's answer was pretty good when he said, a little bit of both. I thought that was spot on. The journey, there's a lot you learn from the journey. And some of that is failure, like Lee's been out as a coach. It's like, maybe we should have run this or we should have called this. So you make your mental notes because you're always trying to set the kids up for success, and you put a lot of pressure on yourself to help these guys be happy after 60 minutes, right? Because nothing better than seeing smiles on their faces, and nothing hurts worse than seeing the disappointment. So that motivates you. So I think we kind of need to look at, all right, what can we build upon, which is a lot, because we have a great group of kids. We played a lot of really good teams, and we've been in some slugfests, so we know we can compete against anybody. But I also know, like these guys know, there's a lot we could still get better at, and we haven't even come close to playing our best 60 minutes. So that's the goal is, especially right now, not knowing who we're going to play. Today is going to be a practice where we focus a lot about ourselves, clean some stuff up, try some different things out. And again, we have the ability to try to do that, which I do think is huge for us. and see if, hey, we haven't experimented with this or that, but let's give it a shot. And we have a sense of like the two teams we're going to play, so we'll know that on Saturday. We can prepare a little bit for both right now with maybe some commonalities that they have, but certainly Sunday will be more of a focus on them. But right now, I think it's really about us and where we get better, schematically, individual skills, chemistry wise, you name it. And that's really the focus. And knowing that it's so late in the season, you got to enjoy every moment together. I really appreciate these guys. They're a great group of young men. One of the themes the other day was like, our time's running short. We got to really enjoy every moment. And we control really how long this train runs. And if you guys want to stay together longer, we've got to invest as much as we can and play as well as we can to keep this journey going. And I know they enjoy being together. They where you see one of them, you see all of them.
Well, guys, that's all we have time for today. Luke, thank you for being here today. And Coach, with this being our last show of the season, I want to thank you for all your time this season. Really appreciate the insight into your program. And guys, best of luck in the postseason.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. I know, obviously the program means a lot to a lot of people. So we're going to do our best to kind of make everybody proud down the stretch here and keep fighting and scrapping.
There you go. You heard it here first, folks. So coming up on Thursday, that will be Maryland men's lacrosse in the Big Ten tournament semifinals in Columbus, Ohio. The opponent still TBD. And before we switch things over, it's lacrosse season, and the Green Turtle is your local spot to enjoy all the games with Draft Pass for just $20. Enjoy nickel domestic pints all game long and a select appetizer. With your Turtle Touchdown Pass, choose from domestic drafts or Turtle's very own Reinders Keeper. Check out the Turtles' new locations in Canton and Towson just in time for lacrosse season. And no matter which Turtle you call home, the game day energy is second to none. Head over to the Green Turtle to sip pints, watch the game, and eat like a champ. Valid at participating locations only. Check your local Turtle for details. So now we will switch things over to Maryland women's lacrosse, and we are going to welcome in head coach Kathy Reese, as well as a senior out of Riverhead, New York, Chrissy Thomas, as we look ahead to the postseason as well. How we doing? Thanks for being here, guys.
Hey, we're great. How are you?
Very good, and very much looking forward to this Saturday, which we will get to in just a little bit. But Chrissy, I want to ask you something real quick, because we had Megan Ball on 2 weeks ago or whatever it was, from New Jersey. You're from New York, and I asked her, how do you compare home pizza and bagels to what you've been getting here in Maryland? I'm kind of trying to get a sense of the group consensus.
I kind of think of them as two different things. I don't compare them because they're hard to compare, but so I lower my expectations a little for the Maryland bagels and the Maryland pizza, but I'll take pizza and bagels from anywhere, honestly.
That is a very diplomatic answer. Well done. So, Coach, when we kind of move back to what's happening on the field, we can get pizza and bagels after the games that we have. You finished the regular season 12-4, 4-2 in conference play. And how do you kind of, as still the same thing, now that we've kind of finished up that regular season, how do you assess that? Because it's been, a kind of grueling campaign.
Yeah, it has. I said to our offense yesterday, I love where we are right now at this point in the season. It has, like you said, it's been a tough year, a grueling year, but we play the toughest schedule in the country. And I think every game that we've played, whether we won or lost, has really just taught us something about ourselves and help prepare us for the postseason. We've seen everything. We've been challenged. We've been up, we've been down, we fought to come back. We lost the lead. We've had a little of everything. But I think the way that we finished our last regular season game versus Princeton, we finally we played 4 full quarters. I felt like offensively, we were generating a lot of looks in that third quarter, which has technically been, or has been this season a tough part of the game for us. And so love kind of how we came out for that. I think our offense is moving the ball really well. Our defense is playing really well and confident. And so, we play Rutgers on Saturday, and that's all we know. When you get to this point in the season, it's hard to kind of look at anything else, but being able to have the chance to compete, we had a bye this weekend. So it's just really nice to kind of have time to work on ourselves and get ourselves organized and ready for anything that comes ahead. And we'll be prepared to play Saturday with kind of a renewed enthusiasm and enjoyment and excitement for the postseason.
And Chrissy, Coach talks about that last game versus Princeton, a 16-12 win. Princeton, number 17, on the road. You were one of 4 Terps that had a hat trick in that game, and it was a really strong performance. I think tying season high for goals for the team. How important is a win like that? It's not a conference game, playing Princeton, but how important is that to have some momentum going into the playoffs?
Well, yeah, it's great. I mean, Princeton's a good team. We decided to focus on ourselves in that game, and we held ourselves to a standard as an offense to produce and just attack in any way that we could. And we were really happy that we were able to do that at the end of the season going into the postseason. So it's really good, and we're excited to continue to do that.
And continuing to do that is what you guys have been doing. And Coach, when we look at Chrissy in particular, I mean, she's been tearing it up recently. She has 10 goals in the last 4 games, 16 points in that span as well. What have you seen from her recently that's just led to so much success?
Well, as we've kind of gone through this season, Chrissy's been someone that's been just real fun to coach. And she's had quite the journey. I think we had sort of a tougher start to the season than she would have liked, but we got to the point midway through the year and it's like, listen, we're done with this. We need you to step up. We know what you're capable of. You got to believe it and you got to do it. And we've seen this kind of turn from her midway through the season where she's owning, taking leadership on offense, being accountable for her play and holding herself to a very high level. And she's been crucial for our success, as we've gone through this season. And so I love where she's trending. She's going harder every single play, every single day. It's been awesome. And we rely on her a lot and her leadership and what she's capable of out there, and will be a huge part of our success this postseason for sure.
And Chrissy, Coach covered a lot of it there, but for you over the last couple of games, having all that success, what have you been focusing on that's led to all that?
I've been focusing on kind of just limiting my personal turnovers and going hard. I think the biggest thing for me is just focusing on going hard and just keep my feet moving at all times, because if I don't keep my feet moving, I'll keep my brain moving. And so that's kind of what I've been focusing on, and just having fun. That's what's really helped me a lot, is enjoying my teammates by my side and just being present in the game.
That feet moving, brain moving kind of thing. That's a really good way to think about it. I like how you articulated that. Coach, actually just yesterday, when you kind of look at the team, the success that you've been having, you guys led the conference with 8 all Big Ten honorees. And obviously, that they're practicing, what they're capable of, but how do you is it validating to see them get that kind of national conference-wide recognition for the successes that they've had?
Well, all of the recognition is great and stuff, but I think every single one of them would just kind of credit the people around them, and it's we've got a team full of people who are hungry for the same goals, have the same kind of vision for this program and what we're capable of. I think, you look at our record and you'll see 4 losses. Well, 2 of those losses were by 1 goal. In both games we had leads, that we blew. And so we kind of can evaluate our season and the success of it. And it's great to highlight these people who are all Big Ten, honorees, which is, again, great. But I think there's a bigger picture for everybody, in addition to that. And this group knows what they're capable of, and we need to find a way to step on the field and execute it. And I was just talking to Chrissy before we went on, and it's interesting. It's like, you look at the strength of the Big Ten Conference for women's lacrosse. We're the top conference in the country, and that's the way it is. And so we're looking at this tournament, and it's a reminder that in order to win the Big Tens, you don't have to beat everybody again. You're going to go out there and you've got to win one game at a time to advance and move on. And the same thing happens with our NCAA tournament field. It's larger than the men's field. We have 29 teams who are selected, which is at larges and the conference winners, but the field is is very strong. There's so many really good teams out there, and this season's been one where every game's kind of all over the place, and it's important for our team to remember and all of these players that it's a group effort, it's a team effort, and we need to step on the field and look to win one game at a time. And so great for these guys to be honored, but I know they would credit every bit of success that they've received to the team around them, and know that there's just kind of a bigger picture and more goals ahead that they're ready to get after.
And that difficult schedule and that, top conference in the nation is often a draw for a lot of players. So, Chrissy, for you, when you're kind of making that decision of where you might want to play college ball and stuff like that, what were some of the things that made Maryland stand out as this is the place for me?
The big games are great and everything, but the coaching staff and just the people around you is like the most important thing when you're going through your 4 years of college. And I went through my recruiting process when I was a ninth grader in high school. And it took me 3 days to decide after my visit that like Maryland was the one. I had my visit with all the coaches and I'm like, these are the best people ever. And I think it's important. You spend every single day, most of your day with these people. So just enjoying the people around you and like really just having fun, like I said before.
And Coach, we talk a lot about you have so many players from the state of Maryland on your roster, and a lot of recruiting goes in there. But when you're looking at the kind of players that are coming from other states and things like that, how is that maybe a little bit different? And how good does it feel to like after a visit 3 days, like this is it, I'm in, I'm fully committed type of thing?
Well, you can tell Chrissy's easy to love, right? Like and this is in addition to playing, you get to talk to her and get to know her, and her personality is very, it's a perfect fit for Maryland, what Maryland's all about. And that is the people. And it's just kind of having that energy, that love for the sport, that love for the university, the love for your teammates. And Chrissy really just embodies all of those kind of traits that we like to have as a team, and that's kind of been part of our history and our culture here. And so, yeah, the 3 days, it's not surprising to me because we knew when she left campus that this was going to be a perfect fit for her. And we're looking forward. I had to wait 4 years to get her here, though. We had to get through high school. That was when we could still recruit, and they were a lot younger than our rules are now. But our staff works really hard. We're out recruiting, watching for great players, and just trying to get to know them more through coaches and through the process when we are allowed to talk to them, and trying to find the right fit here. And I love our team. I love where we are. I think this team sense of just belonging and togetherness and friendship is really special. And I think Chrissy would say the same thing, that this has probably been one of the best groups that she's been a part of for her 4 years here, just the way that they can trust each other and interact with each other. And Chrissy's part of, when she came in as a freshman, we had the Big Ten only schedule. That was with the COVID kind of post-COVID year when the Big Ten was trying to allow us to play. And that was a tough freshman year. It was hard for all of these players and hard to come onto a college campus. And that's what you can't eat in the dining hall. You can't, go to in-person class. We're COVID testing every day. It was a lot. And so, Chrissy was, one that was able to kind of stick it out, and we're fortunate we get her back next year for another year, which I'm so thankful for, and so thankful that it worked out that way. But, we've got a great group. We've got 34 players who are all just awesome women. And it's so fun to have everybody together. And, we want to keep this season going as long as we can.
Chrissy, Coach covered a lot of it there. This is a very tight-knit group, and it's very easy to see, from everything from your play on the field to the TikToks coming out for practice and things like that. Like, how do you kind of assess the closeness of this group? And did coming in during COVID kind of like bond you guys closer in a way, maybe?
Yeah, I do think that coming in COVID, like we weren't able to do a lot of things off of the field. And if we were, like, it was team oriented. So the group above us, the fifth years, were there. And I think that really helped bond us all together. But this group is just like, I mean, I say it's like, what did I say? I said sisters by choice, teammates by chance, or whatever it is. But we're just like, we're really close. And I don't have any sisters personally, but I would consider all of these girls sisters to me. Like, we joke like sisters, and it's just great. And it's like the best to have had 4 years next to just the most amazing people, and like they'll be a part of my life for forever. So
You need to turn that saying into like a live, laugh, love sign, just like
Yes.
whatever kind of is, and just put it in the locker room or something like
Teammates
that.
by chance, sisters by choice.
There you go. Yeah. So, and I mean, Chrissy, also like you guys have a lot of fun together too. And like some of our peeks into it are like the TikToks that Josh will film when you guys are going out to practice and
Mm.
stuff like that. What has been maybe your favorite one of those kind of silly moments, either with the TikTok or just with anything that's gone on this season? Because it can be intense, it can be a lot, and there's a lot of high pressure, but there are moments of fun and goofiness too.
Yeah, there's plenty of moments of fun. I think away trips are like my most favorite part of just hanging out with the team. Like we get just undivided attention towards each other. So we hang out in each other's hotel rooms, or we have long bus trips or plane rides. We love doing the TikTok stuff. It's just something that Josh once said, like Josh loves doing the TikToks too, and it's the
Mhm.
best. But I can't think of any TikToks. But yeah, the away trips are the best from in my book.
Coach, do you get to see any of the TikToks that they do and their kind of reactions and the goofing around, or are you kind of not on that side?
No, I'm not really a TikTok person. I did participate when we unveiled our stadium in a TikTok. We had a good dance in the locker room. I'm all up for
Yeah.
a good dance. Um, like to sing, all of those things. So whatever, whatever it takes. But yeah, I don't. Unfortunately, I'm not the most up to date with social media as these guys are.
But I'm sure you get to see moments that are not on TikTok. That is your team bonding together, having fun, being silly. I mean, that has to feel good as a coach because, we talk about the teammates by chance, sisters by choice kind of thing. You kind of cultivate that. Like you're kind of the one that pulls all that together. So when you see them goofing around, like it also translates onto the field too. So it's kind of a win-win.
Totally. I think we as a coaching staff really try to remember there's a lot going on in these guys' lives, in addition to just school and social stuff and family stuff. And when we do get them at practice, it's a great opportunity to try to put everything aside and just focus on the team. And so, we're not just lacrosse. I think there's a lot of laughs that happen in practice too when we're working hard, but just trying to remind the team that when they love doing what they do, they want to be great. They want to do it. And that's kind of been our philosophy forever as coaches is making sure that, we're loving lacrosse and we're working hard and these guys come out and they get after it. But at the same time, we're not trying to take ourselves too seriously there. Remember that we're doing something that we love and to kind of enjoy the moment that we're in and stay present. And then we want to be great. Can't wait for practice tomorrow. We're getting ready to go outside right now and get after it. And I'm looking forward to getting better today. We don't go terribly long, but at the same time, we'll have a good time while we're out there, but we'll work really hard.
You take what you do seriously. You don't take yourselves too seriously.
There
I
you
think
go.
is maybe kind of the balance. And when we look ahead to this postseason now, I mean, Chrissy, I asked Luke Weirman the same thing. How do you kind of view this point in the season? Is it a new season? Is it a continuation of what you guys have been doing? How do you kind of analyze that?
I think he answered it well. I see it as both. I think it's a good way to just kind of approach it similar to what we were doing and like learn from our past season, but also, get excited for the postseason. It's different. It's a different, each game is a game and nothing's promised. But I think I see it as both. I see it as a good way to reset and also a good way to carry in all the things that we've learned throughout the season into the postseason.
And coach, when we look at this game coming up on Saturday, it's kind of the start of that next phase of the season. I think it's fair to say when you are playing Rutgers, and you've played them once. That was a win, but it's one of those things where like it's tough to beat a team twice, kind of thing. When you've maybe already played them, how do you kind of approach that matchup with the familiarity? Maybe not driving everything you do, but maybe factoring in a little.
Well, I think too, our Rutgers was one of our first conference games, so it was kind of a while ago, which is different if we were turn around and playing, I don't know, Hopkins or whoever our most recent Penn State. I can't remember. Oh, I froze.
Yeah, Penn State.
Can you still hear me? There we are.
Yeah, you're good.
And so it's been a while since we played them and we've grown a lot as a team. And so I just feel that our preparation and focus on ourselves, it's we don't know what's going to be thrown at us, but we're going to be ready for anything. And we know it's going to be a battle. These conference games always are. We're excited to be at home, and I know it's Maryland Day. There's a lot going on around campus. We've got spring football early on, I think baseball and softball play. So it's going to be a pretty awesome day here at the University of Maryland. And so it'll be cool to have our game at 4. Hopefully we get a great crowd out there, and I know our team is going to be ready to compete.
I was going to ask you if you wanted to do your promo again.
There
But
you go.
you slipped it in there. Very casual, like. Yeah, very, very nice. Well, guys, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate the time. Best of luck on Saturday. We'll see you there. And Coach, the same thing I said to Tills. Thank you for this season. This is our last show that we'll be doing, but appreciate all the time and all the fun moments and laughs we've had. And we'll look forward to the postseason.
Absolutely. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. So that will do it for us on the Coaches Show for Maryland Lacrosse. And before we go, the Turtle Triple Play at the Green Turtle, an amazing $25 offer, including an appetizer and 2 entrees, a high-value experience in a sports fan's paradise. Check your local Turtle for details. Again, Maryland women's lacrosse will play in the Big Ten Tournament quarterfinals on Saturday at 4 p.m. against Rutgers. You can catch that game on Big Ten Plus, as well as Maryland men's lacrosse will play a week from today, Thursday, May 2nd, in the Big Ten semifinals. Opponents TBD in Columbus, Ohio. That game will be on the Big Ten Network. And for everybody that has watched and tuned in this season, we appreciate it. We hope you enjoyed this look into both the Maryland men's and women's lacrosse programs, and that will do it for us for this season. So for Brendan Hartlove and our entire team that puts this show together, we thank you for joining, and we'll see you in the postseason.